Moses' journey from his call to lead the Israelites out of Egypt to their eventual arrival at the borders of Canaan is a profound narrative rich with symbolism, divine intervention, and human struggle. The story, primarily chronicled in the books of Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy in the Bible, spans decades and encompasses a multitude of events that shaped the destiny of the Israelite nation. Here's a comprehensive exploration of Moses' journey, broken down into key phases. Moses' story begins with his extraordinary birth during a time when Pharaoh ordered the killing of all Hebrew male infants. His mother, Jochebed, hid him in a basket among the reeds of the Nile River, where he was found by Pharaoh's daughter and raised in the palace as her own son. Despite his privileged upbringing, Moses identifies with his Hebrew heritage. One day, while Moses is tending his father-in-law's flock in the wilderness, he encounters a burning bush that is not consumed by the flames. From within the bush, God speaks to Moses, commissioning him to return to Egypt and demand the release of the Israelites from bondage. Initially hesitant due to his insecurities and doubts, Moses eventually accepts this divine call, assisted by his brother Aaron. Armed with the authority of God, Moses and Aaron confront Pharaoh, demanding the release of the Israelites. However, Pharaoh's heart is hardened, and he refuses to let them go. God then sends a series of devastating plagues upon Egypt, each escalating in severity, aimed at demonstrating his power and compelling Pharaoh to relent. The plagues include turning the Nile River into blood, swarms of frogs, gnats, flies, livestock disease, boils, hail, locusts, darkness covering the land, and culminating in the death of the firstborn. Despite witnessing these miraculous signs, Pharaoh stubbornly refuses to yield, leading to the tragic loss of life among the Egyptian people. Finally, after the 10th plague, Pharaoh relents, and the Israelites are hastily released from slavery. They leave Egypt in a mass exodus, commemorated by the observance of the Passover. As they journey towards freedom, the Israelites are guided by a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night, symbols of God's presence among them. The Israelites' newfound freedom marks the beginning of their arduous journey through the wilderness towards the Promised Land. However, their faith is quickly tested as they encounter various challenges, including scarcity of food and water, internal conflicts, and threats from neighboring peoples. During this time, Moses serves as the intermediary between God and the people, receiving divine guidance and instructions for their journey. One significant event is the giving of the 10 Commandments and the establishment of the covenant between God and the Israelites at Mount Sinai. Moses ascends the mountain and receives the tablets containing the moral and ethical laws that are to govern the Israelite community. Despite witnessing miraculous signs of God's provision and protection, the Israelites often grumble and rebel against Moses' leadership. Their lack of faith leads to consequences, including outbreaks of disease, divine judgment, and the decree that the current generation would not enter the Promised Land. Only Joshua and Caleb, who remained faithful to God, are promised entry into Canaan. As the Israelites approach the borders of Canaan, Moses' leadership enters its final phase. He sends spies into the land to assess its inhabitants and resources. However, upon their return, most of the spies report that the land is inhabited by giants and is unconquerable. Only Joshua and Caleb maintain faith in God's promise that they will inherit the land. The Israelites, swayed by fear and doubt, rebel against Moses and express a desire to return to Egypt. In response, God declares that the current generation will wander in the wilderness for 40 years, 1 year for each day the spies explored the land, until they perish, except for Joshua and Caleb. During this time of wandering, Moses continues to lead and instruct the people, reminding them of God's faithfulness and their covenant obligations. Despite his fervent prayers and intercession, God reiterates that Moses himself will not enter the Promised Land due to an incident of disobedience. As the 40 years come to an end, Moses' journey draws to a close. He ascends Mount Nebo, from where God shows him the Promised Land from a distance. Moses dies there, and God himself buries him in the land of Moab, though the exact location of his grave remains unknown. Before his death, Moses passes on his leadership to Joshua, who will lead the Israelites into Canaan. Moses is remembered as one of the greatest prophets and leaders in Israelite history, revered for his faithfulness, humility, and obedience to God. Conclusion. The journey of Moses from his call to lead the Israelites out of Egypt to their eventual arrival at the borders of Canaan is a saga of faith, redemption, and divine guidance. It is a story of human frailty and divine sovereignty, of miraculous deliverance and wandering in the wilderness. Throughout his journey, Moses serves as a model of leadership, perseverance, and obedience to God's will. His life exemplifies the importance of faith in times of adversity and the enduring legacy of those who trust in the promises of God. As the Israelites stand on the brink of entering the Promised Land, the story of Moses serves as a reminder of their journey from slavery to freedom, from bondage to inheritance, and of the faithfulness of God who leads them every step of the way.